Here's a man who didn't serve, talking about a man who did serve. And I always have this rule.
Well, look, I don't have any regard for John McCain because
I agree.
John McCain was a very disrespectful so-and-so when he and Barack Obama, then Senator Barack Obama, were on the campaign trail and having the debates. He was sitting with his back turned to Mr. Obama. See, I haven't forgotten that. So if Donald Trump is getting at John McCain, I could care less.
Now, my issue is not with John McCain. I'm talking about just in general. I have this rule. If you didn't serve, you don't talk about anybody who did serve.
All right.
Period.
I agree.
Just stay away from it because it's really a no-win issue, especially if you're running for the highest office in the land.
All right.
You don't want to me, if I didn't serve, why am I going to talk about somebody who did? Even if I don't believe you were a hero or not, it's best you keep that to yourself.
Well, it looks to me like this is just, again, Donald Trump is just being used as the, like in wrestling. He's the Ric Flair generating all this controversy, and hype, and everyone else is just getting on board, and he's trying to, and I guess the quiet man, who I really think this thing is really being set for, Jeb Bush, he's playing the background for now. And I do foresee that Jeb Bush will somehow become the front runner, but Donald Trump is right now the hype man. He's the one that's out there right now. Everyone's seeing it's like Donald Trump 24/7. And everything he's making, all these comments, his going to visit the border, and he's just doing, it just seems like he's just playing along, and people are just falling for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Well, but that's the thing. But what he's doing is he's also throwing a grenade at the Republican Party because he's basically ruining their chances for 2016.
How you figure?
Because if he's talking like this, what is mainstream America thinking and saying? Wait a minute, you're in the Republican Party, and this guy talking, and
well, hold up. Let me remind you that mainstream America was behind the Republican Party when they took us into this war of mass deception all these years ago. We still in the abyss behind that lie. The American public was in goose step, locked in goose step. In some instances with George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. So we have to be careful when it comes to the American public.
No, I agree, but the reason why the American public was in lockstep with that war was because they were angry about 9/11 and they wanted revenge.
Yeah, with no evidentiary proof about who exactly did it.
Again, who is the American public getting their information from? The media. Who's feeding the media? Cheney and
all the corporate bodies,
neocons.
The corporate body, the neocons, the neophytes, whatever, who own much of the media and own much of. Yeah, okay, I got you. Go ahead.
See, so therefore, in the American public, I hate to say it this way, but the average American they really can't seem to think for themselves outside of what they read and hear. If you go back to the movie The Training Day with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke, which I loved.
Okay, I love it too.
There was a point in the beginning of the movie, where Ethan Hawke is sitting down at a restaurant with Denzel.
All right.
Okay? And Denzel was trying to read his paper. And Ethan kept talking to him. And he says, "Would you let me read?" But the guy kept interrupting him. So he says, "Okay, since you won't let me read, tell me a story." He says, "You want to know why I read the paper?" He says, 95% of what is in here is BS, but it's entertaining. So the whole thing is, people go by what they read and hear without really disseminating the fact to see what is actually factual, because a lot of times the people who's actually doing the reporting isn't any more smarter than the people who's actually reading it.
Okay. All right. You heard that, people, right? That's very interesting. So as we move on, but still, the Republican, like I said, I don't know. This guy's just getting a lot of press, and it's disturbing to me because there are more important issues. And you mean there's not one viable candidate that they could pay attention to except Donald Trump? Really?
Well, see, here's the thing, okay? You know what makes Trump attractive? Two things.
What? I'm listening.
Number one, he says what's on his mind, which is kind of refreshing in a way.
Okay.
He's not really politically correct.
Okay, he's not correct, period.
I know, but he's
I don't
definitely
care.
not politically correct. Okay? He's definitely not politically correct. He says what's on his mind. That's
Okay.
kind of refreshing because at least you can see where he's coming from.
Okay.
Whether you agree with this point or not is another story.
All right.
But at least you can see him coming, as they
Go.
say.
Go ahead.
The second thing is when you hear some of these other Republicans talk, like who was it, Scott Walker saying, well, on day one, I plan on killing the Iran deal. And you see, when you got people talking like that, this makes Trump more valuable because everybody's looking and say, well, who else is there?
Okay.
Because Jeb Bush said, he seems to be the only adult in the room, and I love what Jeb Bush said. He said, first of all, no president is making any major decision on day one in office. That ain't happening.
That's right.
So for
right.
Scott Walker to come out and say that, to me, he is
But Scott
disqualified.
Walker's still a young punk.
I understand that, but he's not the only one saying dumb things like this. You got Bobby Jindal, okay? You got, let me not even, really? You got Mike Huckabee. All these guys are saying statements that
But
basically.
they're all dumb.
And
They're
now,
not very smart, you know.
and now all of a sudden, Rick Perry, he puts on glasses and like Trump said, he's supposed to make himself look a lot more smarter. I'm like this, where was this Rick Perry who's talking now? Where was this Rick Perry in 2012?
Good question. Good question. I'm going to tell you, man. Unchained, Unleashed, as we continue on. All right, now. Now, it just seems to me that Donald Trump is having an effect on a great many people. Now, we have longtime wrestling superstar Terry Bollea. We all know him as the incredible Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Hollywood.
Hulk Hogan. Okay, brother. In the whole lot of hot water, brother. Using N-word, brother, in an interview. So, let's see. What's on your mind with that, man? Unchained, Unleashed.
Okay.
And
He apparently just got fired by the WWE, and I'm gonna tell you something.
well, I'm gonna say it's always for me. It's gonna be the World Wrestling Federation. But go ahead.
Okay, which I agree with you. But here's the thing. Though I abhor what he said, two things. Number
What did he say?
he used
so bad.
he used the N-word on the number because his daughter was apparently having sex with an African American young male.
Is allegedly having
Not allegedly, she was having sex with an African American male,
producer.
not a producer. His daughter,
Okay, I know Brooke.
Hogan.
Or Brooke
Bollea,
Bollea.
right.
All right. She was involved in an interracial.
In a relationship, right? And he didn't like that. Now here's the problem I have with it.
confirmed.
Yes, here's the problem I have with this though. That happened years ago.
Right.
It was known years ago.
Right. Okay.
So why is he being punished for it now?
Because I think because the audio tape and everything else, and because of all the climate, with the climate that we're seeing right now, the young man, this fool who went down here and shot 9 people in the church, and all the other racial incidents,
Bingo.
it would seem to me that the World Wrestling Federation, when it comes to Vince McMahon, money talks, and he doesn't want to lose a host of money when the World Wrestling Federation is supported by a lot of black, and Hispanic and viewers, and as far as merchandise is concerned. And let's not forget, there's been a long-standing feud between Vincent McMahon, and Mr. Hogan for a very long time.
That is true.
So this could be used as a ways and means to, get rid of the Hulk Hogan brand, the entire Hulkamania stock as a whole. Because, as far as I'm concerned, okay, if he had a problem with his daughter being engaged or being in an interracial affair, that's his right. If he said these statements in a private setting,
Which he did.
which I'm finding out now, that's his right. So I don't understand why they would now, that they being the World Wrestling Federation and all of its subsidiaries and anyone else involved, want to now penalize him for private comments.
Well, you see, this goes back to the whole Donald Sterling issue.
Or how about before Donald Sterling, you had Dave Dog, the bounty hunter Chapman,
Yes.
when he made comments about his son who was preparing to be married to a black woman, and David Chapman, and him and his son, they were arguing on the phone, and the son was recording the phone conversation, and he said, "Look, son, I don't want you married to no nigga. That's just how I feel about it." And he leaked it, and his son leaked that interview, and A&E moved in, was forced to move in and take the show off the air, which I didn't agree with at the time. You have Donald Sterling. Go ahead, make your point.
Well, apparently, see, and I know that Mark Cuban, who is one of the owners in the NBA of the Dallas Mavericks, would say, well, we're going down this slippery slope where you started now to penalize guys for what they're saying in the privacy of their own home. Here's what I say to Mark Cuban, though. Because he made his fortune off the internet.
Right.
Building internet, things like that. Well, you helped create this problem.
How so?
Because if there was no internet, we wouldn't know about this Dog the Bounty Hunter.
But
we wouldn't have known about the Donald Sterling comments.
But regardless of whatever, we do know about them. I'm saying this here. What is the big hoopla?
Here's the big hoopla. Because listen, we all know racist, okay, how can I say this? All right, we all know that you're not going to have a racist come out and say, I hate you using the N-word in your face.
Nigga.
But what he'll do is he'll say it in the privacy of his own home and his friends and stuff. And what happens is it infiltrates corporate America.
It's not like this is a private issue. But what about the fact that this commentator, ESPN, disrespect the Dominican baseball players?
I'm sorry.
On air. No, the Dominican baseball player, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who, disrespecting Dominican baseball players as being uneducated and really